Yeah, they say they care about people, they care about security, but the truth is they really don't. So we are preparing people to pass exam, but the adversary does not give multiple choice question. Right. So when I joined the Navy after 9/11, first you do have to define the mission: strategic, communicative, and calm under pressure. Also understand the business side.
What is the single most important thing a CTO needs to understand about? So, are you still the director, board director at AZ Security Initiative, or you are not right now?
Okay, so the bottom line, the future attack may not break your firewall, but it may convince your people to open the door. Wake me up at any time in the morning, any day, anytime. I will tell you my core values: honor, courage, commitment. One unpatched system can really create a chain reaction that would affect the entire organization. When we cannot accomplish our mission, people may actually die.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, Bob, joining from this podcast, CTO Story. Help me to understand a little about who Bob is, what is doing, and a little bit about cybersecurity and those things. Help us to understand about you.
Yeah. My origin story. I think I realized that cybersecurity was really a calling for me when I understood that the work was not really about firewalls, tools, and alert and all of that, but it was really about protecting people, protecting missions, institution, and trust. Right. So my background, I started college. I was a pre-med student, so I majored in chemistry and biology. So my background in those art sciences, they really trained me to think in systems, right? Reactions, dependency, chains of consequences, and so on. So cybersecurity, I believe, is very similar. One weak control, one exposed identity, one unpatched system can really create a chain reaction that would affect the entire organization. So when I joined the Navy after 9/11, I think it was October 2004, initially as an enlisted sailor, E1, which is the lowest rank in the military. And today I am a senior officer, O5 commander. But the Navy really sharpened that lesson for me, right? As a IT PD officer and later an information warfare officer, I really saw that information systems were not just administrative tools, but they were really mission systems, right? One of my leadership mantra I learned in the Navy is mission first, people always. So no matter what we do, I have to accomplish the mission of the organization. And if cybersecurity cannot help enable the mission of the organization, then there is no reason for cybersecurity to be a function of the organization, in my opinion. So if communication failed, if intelligence was compromised, if network were degraded, people could be placed at risk, right? Different from the industry in the US Navy and the military in general, right? When we cannot accomplish our mission, it's not just that we lose money or that our brand gets tarnished, but people may actually die, right? That's not something you can say at Google, Microsoft, or wherever else you work. So it is quite serious. So that's really when cybersecurity, to me, really stopped being just a job and it became a duty, right? It became service.
Love it. But so you started your journey as a, I would say, biology and chemistry degree. And then you moved to, let's say, after 9/11, you mentioned, in Naval Reserve IT Pretty officer, right? I mean, that's like you started with the lowest rank. And then basically now you are, I would say, Command 72 personnel in one of the most classified cyber warfare units in the US military. Or it's a Navy, basically, or what I understood. What was
Yes.
the moment when you realize, oh, cybersecurity was not just a job for you, but it was like, okay, I need to jump into this and I need to work upon on this. What was that moment? Did you realize somewhere some incident happened, and how exactly you took far to the to this level now?
Yeah, so that is what I just explained a second ago. I think when I joined the military, even as a seaman recruit, I was IT seaman, no, 21 years ago. That's when I really had the sense that cybersecurity was more than just tools, right? Because it was really about national security, right? It's especially in the U.S. Navy, especially in the military, because there was a big difference. Because prior to that, I was actually a director of IT at the University of Alabama. I had about a dozen people reporting to me at the time. But when you do security for a civilian organization or nonprofit or higher education or for-profit corporation, like I have done in Silicon Valley the last 12 years, the motivation is very, very different, right? For Silicon Valley company, in my opinion, in my experience, really their bottom line, the priority is really being first to go to market and really making as much money as they possibly can. Yeah, they say they care about people, they care about security, but the truth is they really don't. They just care about the bottom line. And no, it kind of makes sense because they have a lot of shareholder who've invested in the company and they need
Exactly.
a return
Yeah.
on that investment. And if they cannot give a return, then nobody's going to have a job. So I do understand that I am not criticizing them or putting them down, but I just feel like there's got to be something more important than just making an extra dollar. And I think there is a way to be profitable while at the same time adding a lot of value, not just to your shareholder, but to the community and to society at large as well. I think you can be profitable and still be good to your employees, right? I don't think that you necessarily have to choose. I think you can be both. But any anyway, but especially my time in the U.S. Navy, especially when you are deployed, maybe in a war zone or going through a training exercise, you really see how important all of those technical skills you have, how they really come together for a much bigger cause, right? A bigger vision, a more important mission, and how the little things that you do on computer system actually add up to the big vision, right? The commander's intent into advancing the national security of what I believe still is the most powerful country in the world. So it just gives you a different lens, a different viewpoint, I think, about how critical
Love it.
cyber
So
security is.
that excites you basically to move to the cybersecurity. Okay, love it. It's so
Yeah.
you have studied in Harvard, you studied in Naval Academy as well, in War College, and then you post graduated from there as well, and
Mhm.
then you move to the Defense University as well, and then on top of that, two master degree.
Yes.
You learn this much academic, right?
Yes.
Does it helps in real time wars or scenario, or it doesn't help?
I think it helps a lot. Now, I must say I do have two master's degree. One master I had to have because of my designator. They needed all of us as information professional officer to have a STEM degree, anything in science, technology, engineering, math, right? So that is what we do. But then I also got a business degree. That was really for my civilian job in Silicon Valley because I was in the Navy Reserve where you serve in uniform part time at minimum 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year, but it's usually a lot more than that. And then you are also a full time civilian. So my business degree really helped me a lot in my jobs here in Silicon Valley. The Navy, my designator didn't care much about that, but they did care a lot about my master of science. But I think I probably get it from my father, right? Robert Zinga. He was highly educated. He had a bachelor degree. I don't think he ever had a master, but he always had it in us growing up that all of his children would at least get a bachelor degree. That was like his minimum because he felt like education would open up a lot of doors for us. So I think academic investment really gives you framework, right? And then experience will kind of gives you scars. And I believe you kind of need both, right? On the job experience teaches you what breaks. No, academic rigor teaches you why it breaks, how to analyze
Makes
it, and
sense.
how to build better system
Yep.
before failure happens. No, I mentor a lot of people, not just in the US, but around the world. They usually find me on LinkedIn and they want to get into cybersecurity or IT. But one thing I want all of my mentees to do is to at least get a bachelor degree because I feel like if one day you are going to become a director, a vice president, a I don't know, a chief information officer or chief information security officer, in my opinion, I think a bachelor degree is a bare minimum. That's because
Makes
it kind
sense.
of teaches you how to think, how to write an essay, how to ask questions. So you really get a lot of skills. I don't think you would really get any other way. But I do believe that experience is the most important thing, right? When I hire people, I usually really focus on their experience. What can you do? Also, maybe the ability to learn, right? Having an open mind because you may know how to do certain things wherever you come from, but at my organization, we probably do it completely different. So you need to be willing to learn the way we do that here. But anyway, so I kind of feel like studying at an institution like Harvard University, the Naval War College, the Naval Post Graduate School, and National Defense University, they really expanded my thinking beyond just technical execution. Right, really taught me strategy, policy, governance, national security, economics, leadership, and decision making under uncertainty. And I think those are skills that you will need in the age of artificial intelligence. There's so much uncertainty happening in our world right now. So, as a chief technology officer or chief information security officer or chief information officer who only knows technology, you may solve the immediate problem, but I think a leader who understands systems, strategy, and human behavior can solve the pattern behind the problem.
Makes sense. So it gives you a thinking ability when you do this study in all these different colleges and give you a good network. So no, love it. So
Yes.
you build cybersecurity function from scratch at Defense Language Institute as well. And I think you work it directly, then you again work in the Tremendous with 12 clients simultaneously. What is that about building from zero that you are still more interested into, and what do most CTO or CISO who inherit basically existing program never figured out? Like they're like, okay, no, I'm done with the building, but you still like, oh, I want to build from the scratch, 0 to 1, let's make it happen. Why? I mean, is there any background that you passed through before, or
Yeah.
what exactly it looks like?
First of all, I must say, throughout my entire life, my professor, when I was in high school, they used to nickname me uh, what was bulldozer. I think was the nickname.
Bulldozer.
I went to a French speaking high school, but basically in the French education system, early on they want to find out, once you get to high school, are you going to be a science major, or are you going to be arts? So are you going to be language, art, philosophy, or are you going to be science, physics, biology, and chemistry? And they test you to kind of see which topics are best suited to you. And I did very well in all of them. Whether it was philosophy, science, English, French, or whatever, I did very well. Whether it was physics, biology, chemistry, I did very well in those two. So it was very difficult for them to kind of place me. So I think I love the entire spectrum. I love starting from scratch and put my fingerprint on things like I've done over and over again throughout my career. But I am also okay, taking over something somebody else has built and then improving it as well. But I guess what draws me to building from zero, I think it's because that's where leadership is tested most honestly. Right? When you inherit a mature program, there are already assumptions, politics, processes, and blind spot baked into it. But when you build from zero, you must answer the fundamental question: what matters most? Because you almost always have very limited budget and resources, and you are asked to pretty much do the impossible. And you always have to ask yourself, what matters most, right? What are we protecting? Who owns the risk? What does success look like? Right. So I think most C-level executive in tech, whether you're CTO, CIO, or CISO, they inherit existing program, and sometimes they really never figure out that maturity is not the same as effectiveness. Right. I believe there is a difference. So you can have dashboard, you can have policies, you can have tools, and still be strategically weak. So I think building from zero forces clarity. You absolutely have to be clear about where you are going. So it forces prioritization. Sometimes you have to prioritize your prioritization. It happened quite a lot, especially in the startup world in Silicon Valley, right? So it really forces ownership.
Yeah, because you know the boundaries as well. What is working, what is
Yes.
not working, and what is the limitations. Like, I love it. So
Yes.
basically, that's why. So you want everything to be controllable. I mean, that's what I understood. Because right? If you build from the
Yeah.
scratch, you want it to be controllable, and at the right time, you want to press the right button, basically.
Yes, if possible, yes, within limit, but yes,
Exactly.
control the things that we can control. Absolutely.
Makes sense. And so you are right now ranked in top 2% of US Navy commanders globally, right? And have led cybersecurity missions with real-time cybersecurity consequences as well. Whereas in the most enterprise CTOs or CISO, they read the reports and they say what is working, what is not working, and what the threat level look like. Right? how the real warfare looks like. Help me to understand, like, is it like normally a paper or the report comes in, you read that and you work on that? How exactly in the real time where the war is going on, or let's say warfare is going on, how exactly the situation look like? Is it something like you have a system in place? Is it something like how exactly it looks like? Help me to understand, because I'm sure enterprise CTO never know how exactly it looks like in the navy or warfare situation.
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Okay, first of all, just to be very clear, everything we're going to talk about here is completely unclassified public domain. You can find on Google or everywhere else. But generally speaking, I think there are no 2 days alike. I think that's why I really love IT, and more specifically the cyber warfare domain, because every day is always different. Never 2 days are alike, and I really like that, because I think I'm probably the type of person who tends to get bored easily. And one thing I really love about this domain, especially now in the age of AI, is, we are always forced to be learning and developing and really trying to solve problem in different ways. So I think most enterprise leaders think cyber risk is about breach response, but I think nation state cyber warfare is about long-term positioning,
Mm.
intelligence collection, influence, disruption, and strategic advantage. So a breach report shows what happened, right? But a nation state campaign is about what the adversary is preparing to do next. Right? For example, in the Navy, that started in 2010. That's when we stood up. Initially, it was called the Information Dominance Corps, but pretty quickly we found out we didn't dominate much in the information domain, so we became the Information Warfare Community, which made a lot more sense. But because it's not just the IP officer, which I am, information professional, basically the IT officer for the Navy, but we also have intelligence officer. We also have cryptologic officer. We also have METOC officer, people who do the weather, meteorology, and oceanography. We also have the space officer as part of that big umbrella under information warfare. So it is really about having an advantage, right? And I think it's an information advantage since we are in the information age now. So at that level, the adversary is very, very patient, right? They don't have to have their effect tomorrow or next week. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes they implement into your system, like China has done many, many times, and they would stay there for 6 months or even a year and do absolutely nothing. And then when the time comes, that's when they start their effect, when they have maximum impact on your system. So they study your people, they study your processes. They even go into social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, or whatever, try to get a psychological profile of everybody that works within the organization.
Mm.
They are very, 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 very patient. Now, whenever you even use your phone, you go running or whatever, and then you decide to put it on Facebook, they capture all of that data to really get into your mindset, your vendors, your habit, your maintenance window, your acquisition, and your assumption, right? They are not just attacking the technology, they are attacking trust, the people, the timing, and the decision making. So that's a very big difference between doing cybersecurity in the industry and doing so for the military. I think what many chief technology officers may miss is that cyber warfare is not an IT event, right? It is
Mm.
a contest of resilience.
Very interesting. So data is everything in that case, and
Yes,
psychologically and reading minds. Okay, love it. So you come from C4 ISR mindset as well, right? Because you commanded C4 IS capabilities, which is actually the
correct.
nerve system of military operations.
Hmm.
Uh, what does that teach to a CTO about thinking, very, very critical thinking? It's a mission critical system. How exactly it help you to think when you go in the enterprise and help you to kind of utilize that experience and implement over here in the enterprise? How exactly does it help? It doesn't help? How exactly the mindset changes? Because I'm sure you
Hmm.
have talked to multiple CTO, CISO. How you yourself see difference? Because I'm sure you are thinking mission critically, because you work in the CISR, C4 ISR
Hmm.
command officer as well, right? So help me to understand what is the difference that you see, how the CTO is not in naval command think, and
Yes.
how a person who is CSO or CXO or CTO think who is in the naval command. How exactly the thought process is different.
Yes. So you mentioned C4 ISR. It's actually now C5 ISR. I think it's been that for at least the last 15 years. So that's command, control, computer, communication, and now we've added cyber. So C5.
Very
ISR
interesting.
is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Like I say, I work very closely with intelligence officers in things we do. But I think C5 ISR really teaches you that information is really the nervous system of the mission, right? Command, control, communication, computer, cyber, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. They are not just a support function, but they are how leaders see, how they decide, how they communicate, and most importantly, how they act. Right? That is exactly how our chief technology officer, I think, should view the infrastructure, your cloud environment, identity system, data pipeline, communication platform, and security and telemetry are not just cost center; they are really mission enablers. I think that's how you need to view them. When the technology fails, business judgment slows down. When data integrity is compromised, then leadership decisions become contaminated. So when identity is weak, trust collapses. So really what I do in the Navy, I try to make sure I provide to the commanding officer the information that they need in order to make the right decision at
On
the
time.
right time. Right.
On
And
time.
so a CTO, in my opinion, should really ask if this system fails under pressure, what mission stops? Right. So that is how I believe all of the C-level tech executive, CTOs, CISOs, and CIOs really add values. How
Makes sense.
you really add to the fight.
So think about always what is the consequences looks like. If this fails, okay,
Yes.
what fails? Is it like business
Hmm.
fails? Is it some of the operation fail, or it is catastrophe? Basically, that's the
Exactly.
mindset. Okay, love it.
Yeah.
So
But really, I think one of the biggest lessons I have learned throughout my career is being a tech level, C-level executive. It's, I guess the technical things is almost, yeah, okay, whatever. You do have to be technical, but I think you don't just have to be technical. I think there is a lot more than that. It's about enabling the business. So you have to be a business leader first and foremost. Again, that's part of the reason why I insisted to get a business degree, right? A MBA. That wasn't required for what I do for the Navy, but I feel like it really adds so much more because you're not just doing technology in a silo, right? You are doing it in order to achieve a strategic mission objective, a business objective, right? Because if you're just doing technology for technology's sake, I think you really don't have, a place in the organization. You are absolutely of no use. But it's how do we accomplish this business objective and do it in a safe and secure way? Which technology do we need to implement in order to be able to do that? So I think that is really where
very
we
important.
add the most value.
The way that you are thinking from like a system critical thinking, right? So help me to understand. You laid like a foundation of new cyber defense command at Navy's power
Mhm,
with 156 personnel as well, and
mhm,
you have a budget of 6 million as well, and you made from 0 to 1 because nothing was existing at that point in time.
mhm,
Walk us through like how the first 90 days looks like. A CTO going in an enterprise from scratch, they have to build a cybersecurity system in place, make sure things are ready for a situation which they never thought about, and to avoid catastrophe in the system or
mhm,
enterprise. How exactly that first 90 steps look like, what first 90 days looks like? They have to think which router to use. They have to think, okay, cabling. They have to think about the attacking, defensing. What exactly the
mhm.
system they have to think in the enterprise? Help me to kind of walk through the 90 days.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, I think the first 90 days of building a cyber command are really about clarity, credibility, and I believe cadence. We kind of have a battle with them in the military, but I think those things are very much relatable in the industry as well. So I think first you do have to define the mission, and I must also tell you that's part of the reason why I loved after being on active duty. I really loved being part of the reserve because it still allows you to have industry um, experience. So I feel like everything I've done for the Navy has really helped me do better, as a CISO in the industry, and the experience I've also had in the industry has helped me do better as an information warfare commander in the Navy. It really fits into each other, and I kind of see two separate sides of the same coin. Now, different priorities, different processes, but it all really comes together. So first, I think you kind of have to define the mission. Why are you there for? I do speak a lot, about 12 to 15 times every year to a lot of tech and cyber security conferences. For example, I think in a couple of days, right, I will be in San Francisco at a CISO conference from Apex Assembly. And last week, I just did two presentations. One was for CDM Media, and then another company I never heard of before, Clutch Event. So I spoke for them for the first time, and they only gave me 15 minutes. Usually I speak for about an hour, but 15 minutes is all they gave me. But anyway, I do a lot of that throughout the year just to kind of add to the knowledge base and kind of also get people to provoke their thought and think a little bit different. One thing I have noticed is for a lot of tech executives, many of them, like I would ask, what are the core values of your organization? Usually less than 2% know. Or if they may have an idea, but they don't really know what those core values are. But anybody who's been in the military, these are usually the people who raise their hand and they tell me exactly what the core values of their organizations are. Like, since I joined the Navy 21 years ago, it's been ingrained into me. We have 3 core values: honor, courage, commitment. Wake me up at any time in the morning, any day, anytime. I will tell you my core values: honor, courage, commitment. It's really, really ingrained into us. And I think that's very, very important. You know your core values, that you know your mission, right? Because it's out of that you are able to make decision about your
So what was that? Honor,
function.
honor,
Courage,
courage,
data,
and
and
commitment.
commitment. Yeah, those are the 3 core values of a Navy sailor. So I think you really need to define the mission. You need to know your organization. You need to know the mission of your organization, your core value, because that's going to help you make all of the important decisions. What are we responsible for? What are we not responsible for? What must never fail? So you have said that to be very, very clear. And then second, you kind of need to start assessing the people, right? We always talk about people, technology, and processes. So you need to know the people now. In the Navy, we say mission first, but people always. Your people are your most important asset. Without them, you cannot accomplish your mission. You
I
take
agree.
care of your people will take care of your mission. So you need to assess the people, you need to assess the process, you need to assess the technology, but also know the authorities and the constraint, right? That needs to be clear. You cannot command what you do not understand, right? So you need to bring some visibility into that. And then third, I think,
Yeah.
go ahead.
That's very, very important thing. I mean, because in Navy and
Yes.
military, it's always like zero trust by default.
Yes. Trust but verify. Yes.
Trust must verify. But in Silicon Valley, it's all about very, very differentness, right? It's an openness, open source, everything. And then you have lived in both worlds, military as well as Silicon Valley.
Yes.
What do you think? Where does the private sector's culture of openness become a catastrophe for security liability? And how do you bridge the gap without killing the innovations too?
I think as a leader, you need to be able to influence the culture, right? And it's also very important for you, again, to understand the goal and the mission of your organization, but also the risk appetite of your organization, because things are different. Not every organization is the same. Because it especially when I moved to Silicon Valley, I think it was in 2014, I worked for a very interesting startup. I can say the name, Pivotal. We eventually went public, but it was a very strange, unique type of startup, because it's not like a regular startup where you start with 12 or 8 people and then you go. No, we started with like 2,000 employees. It was 1,000 employee from EMC, our parent company, 1,000 employee from VMware, our sister company, and we came together. We became Pivotal. I think I was employee number 2,205. I think the 6th employee in the cyber security function for that wonderful organization. So I think once you become part of an organization, and I must tell you, the first 30 to 60 days I was there, almost every day I thought about quitting. I was like, am I in the right organization? Because engineering wasn't listening to me at all. They ignored everything cyber security was telling them. And engineering was the most important, the most valued, like in most Silicon Valley company business function, because they were the one who brought in all of the money, who developed all of the product. Maybe until recently, when I think it was Google and Meta, they started getting rid of their software engineer because if they thought AI would do the job, and now they're trying to hire them back. But anyway, so I guess as a leader, first and foremost, you do have to understand your organization, right? Because cybersecurity doesn't work the same way everywhere. It's not like a cookie cutter thing. Oh, I've done this for Vanity. I'm going to do this for this private enterprise. No, no, no. You have to understand the enterprise itself. How do we make money? What are your core values? What is your mission? And then your job is to enable that. And also, what are your risk appetite? What are the constraints, right? In the Navy, like in all the organizations, for example, EMC, their risk appetite was pretty low. No, they've been around for a very, very long time. They have, a good portion of the market. They don't want to lose it by doing something stupid and silly. But when you are a brand new organization like Pivotal, your risk appetite is very, very high. You want to be first to market. You want to take a lot of risk because there's going to be a lot of reward. So you do have to understand that, right? And if you cannot get on board with that, then don't take on the job to be their CTO or the CIO or the CISO, because their culture, their core values are not aligned with your own personal core value. They accept risk that you are not willing to take as a person. Therefore, you don't belong. But if you're gonna say yes, I accept the job, then I believe you do need to be willing to live within that environment and within those constraints. Now, one thing you can do as a leader is you can influence it, right?
Makes sense.
Because leadership, you don't really have to have people reporting directly to you. It's not like in the military where I can give orders, I say jump, and you say hi. No. I am going to be able to work with you and making sure, again, that we always focus on the business objective. This is the reason why we are doing it. This is why cybersecurity is important. For example, when I was at Pivotal, one thing, I wasn't getting anywhere. So what I decided to do, our headquarters was in Palo Alto, our business headquarters, but the engineering headquarters was in San Francisco, downtown San Francisco. So I took it upon myself every Thursday, the entire day I would spend in San Francisco. I would meet those engineers. They would get to know me, know about my wife, my family. I would get to know them, work with them, collaborate with them in the same space. Not just Bob Zinga from security sending you an email from far away telling you what to do. It's somebody that you actually know, you have developed a relationship with. That made a huge difference because because back then, we wanted to go public, and everybody wanted our company to go public and to do well because we were going to make a small fortune. So everybody was really vested into that. So by using that, our mission, our business mandate, that's also when I started doing my classes to get my MBA. So we pretty much were seeing in the same way, we had the same vision. That's what we wanted, and therefore we needed to make sure that security was a part of what we did, because we didn't want to be on the first page of the New York Times because we didn't do security right and because our computer system were hacked. So I was able to really get their goodwill. Again, they didn't report to me. I couldn't really tell them what to do, but I could encourage them and really influence them to do the right thing for the organization. So I think that will help you kind of get a long way. So initially I was saying, right, one of the first thing you really want to do, and you really want, I believe, to spend a lot of time on in the first 90 days was defining the mission and assessing the people, the processes, the technology, but also establishing the battle rhythm, right? The daily sync. For example, it's in when I moved to Silicon Valley, I learned about the 15-minute, what we used to call them stand-up meetings. I've never heard of that, where people actually stand up. You don't sit, it's not a meeting. It's like a quick 15-minute stand-up before they start the day. Everybody talks about, okay, what happened yesterday? Where are you now? What are you going to work on next? And do you need help? And like in 15 minutes, done. And then everybody goes in. So you really have to have that rhythm, like escalation path, who to escalate to and when, reporting line, decision rights, who makes the decision or who just needs to be informed, and then all of the measurable outcome. I think that's important. And then fourth and last, I think you need to identify the highest risk gaps and then attack them early. So almost always when I start a new cyber security venture program, I always want to do a risk assessment. That's one of the most important things I need to do within the first 90 days. So I truly understand where are we, and then where do we need to go, and what is the gap. Now, I need to know the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Don't lie to me. Don't try to make it look better than it is. I want to know everything. Where are the bones buried, the skeleton buried? I want to see them. I want to know exactly where we are, so I can then come up with a program, a roadmap to kind of bridge the path. So I think for a chief technology officer entering a new role, I think the same logic would apply too. You have to understand the mission, truly understand it, map the terrain, and then you have to build trust, establish the operating rhythm, and then deliver early wins that prove momentum. I think that
Makes sense.
helps build more trust and help you, develop your program at that company.
So I have, by looking at this, it seems like if I'm hearing as a non-tech person, it's always seems like, okay, if I'm going to do the security compliance and mission, so that will slow me down. But it directly, I think you have done 15 times revenue growth by embedding security into the sales cycle and reduce the deal closure cycle by 39 days. How? Help me to understand, like in 3 points. Did one, two, three. That's it. Help me to understand
So security as growth. I think that I really had to do this when I came to Silicon Valley, because in the Navy, like I said, we take security so seriously. It can slow down everything that is fine because we know what the risks are. Right? People may actually die. We do not want that. Now, Silicon Valley is completely different culture, completely different priorities. So it's true that for the longest, so most people in our field, they've always looked at security, IT, even legal, kind of like as cost center. You guys just cost us too much money, and it's something we kind of have to do because of compliance or because our big customer require us to, but we don't really want to. We want to spend money on sales and marketing because we get a huge return on investment. We get more clients, we make more money. But so the thing is, no, we shouldn't be a cost center. We need to enable the business. Directly, for example, you mentioned security became a growth lever because we stopped treating it as a back office function. I think that's what CTO needs to stop doing, right? We brought security into the sales cycle early, right? We answered customer trust question before they became deal blocker. Actually, because of security, the sales cycle was going much faster, was sped up, right? Because there were a lot of big clients who wouldn't want to do business with our company prior to me being there because they weren't so sure about our security control and how we would keep their very precious, confidential data confidential. But then with my program, I was able to show them, hey, this is everything we have in place, and your data will be kept confidential. So you have to build that trust again, right? Building reusable evidence too, right? And align controls with customer expectation, and sometimes exceeding their expectation, but really turning security from please complete this questionnaire into let us show you why you can trust us. That's a very, very different way of looking at things. So security is starting to accelerate business when it reduces uncertainty. So customers do not just buy feature, I believe they buy confidence. That is really
I agree.
what the thing is about the sales relationship. So when security gives buyers confidence, it shortens the path to yes. So that's how we're able to make a lot more money, get a lot more customer while increasing our security. So really showing to my senior leadership that yes, security is not something that is going to prevent you from having more profit, but it's actually going to enable that. It's not friction,
I see.
but it's actually an enabler.
So that was my next question, basically. If compliance done right or security done right, you correctly mentioned it does increase the profit of the company and it wins the trust of the customer. So that basically helps a lot.
Yes, I do strongly agree with that because one thing in my experience, a lot of company they do compliance, but it's just like a
Check mark.
in the box, check mark. Right? It's nothing but paperwork. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't increase the security posture of your organization or anything like that. No, if you don't believe me, just think about Target. They had just passed their PCI DSS certification. They were compliant, but they were not secure. So compliance and security are two different things. But what I've tried to do is use compliance to actually drive security
Makes sense.
within the enterprise. So I think compliance done wrong is nothing but paperwork, but compliance done right, like you were saying, is really market access, customer trust, operational discipline, and risk reduction. I've done many companies I've worked for. Silicon Valley, we done SOC 2, ISO 27001, or GDPR, CCPA, and all of those. I also did I trust when I work for a high-tech medical startup, so we could show compliance to EPA. But all of those things, they are not just badges, right? They really force organization to define ownership, document controls, measure risk, and also the effectiveness of those control, and really prove accountability. Because when you have a very big business, like top 10 high-tech business like Microsoft, Google, or Meta, they want to become your customer, they need to know that whatever data they give you is going to be kept secure, right? It's not people who compete with them are not going to get access to those. So when companies leave money on the table, is treating compliance as a defensive exercise instead of a commercial asset. So I believe when it's done right, compliance helps sales, it reduces audit fatigue, it improves operation, it strengthens governance, and it makes the company more attractive to enterprise customers, especially those big customer investors and acquirer too. Where eventually, with directly for example, initially we wanted to go public, but that didn't work after the pandemic came and stuff. But then our next move was we need to get acquired. But even for you to be acquired by another bigger company, they need to make sure that you have security control in place, right, that makes you attractive. So that is how my team and I kind of changed our vision to make sure that our potential buyer would see, okay, security is not going to be a problem. If you don't buy this company, it's not because of security, it's because of something else. So you really have to be a business enabler.
I see. But this all the things normally happens if the leader is in place. If leader is there, the things will happen. But I think based on your past experience at Santa Clara University, you oversaw almost like 20 million security budget. And then while you was handling that and you managing that, you recall to active military duty mid-tenure, right? What does an involuntary military recall gives you an idea like, okay, hey, without me also this should run? Is it like a process should in place? Is it like the knowledge everything should be written? What exactly the steps should be there? So if leader is also not there, it should run and functional very well without going it down. Help me to understand. I'm sure like at the time of while you were working at Santa Clara University, that was the case. Help me to understand how you figured out from the beginning, like, okay, hey, I should go anytime in active military as an active military personnel in the Navy. What was the mindset from the beginning?
Yeah, I think for me, it started when I was a junior officer. I was 2007 to 2008. I was an intern in the U.S. Navy, and my primary mentor was telling me, as a good leader, you need to be able to step away from the organization. And when you come back, everything is still working the way it was supposed to work, up to the standard, meet or exceed the standard. If you leave as a leader, you go on vacation or you come leader or whatever, you get sick, life happens, you are out of pocket for a while. And then when you come back, everything is completely in shambles, you are a bad leader. That is very, very bad leadership, because leadership means you need to develop your people in such a way that they are able to step up and even take many of your responsibility when you are not around. So it is really a leadership problem. So I think being recalled to active military duty reinforced one of my strongest beliefs, right? Again, I only learned this when I was a junior officer in the Navy. Navy, if everything depends on you, you have not built a program. What you have built is dependency, right? It's a single point of failure, and that is absolutely no good. Not for you, not for the organization. A strong security program or technology program must really survive leadership transition. It must, right? And one thing we do in the military is really embedded in our culture. Even no matter when you get a new job, for example, when I was commanding officer of a global network operations security center for the Navy, you only get the job for like 2 years. Now, mine it ended up being about 2 years and a half, almost 3 years. But normally it is 2 years only. One is because less than 1% of the people who join the Navy end up being commanding officers, so they want to make sure somebody else has a chance to get the job. But basically, it forces you to always train your next relief, the next person who is going to be in charge. Another leadership mantra I have learned in the service is rank is rented, but trust is earned. Whatever position you have, whatever rank you have, you're not going to be that way forever. At some point, the Navy is going to ask you to retire, or you're going to be fired, or you're going to take time off, or you're going to resign, but you will not always be in that position forever. Somebody else will be in your seat at some point, but trust is always earned. So I think What it comes down to is you have to document processes, empower your team, really delegate, but empower them to make the decision. Again, something we learned very early on in the military. That's why I believe our military is one of the best militaries in the world because some military, like in Russia, for example, if you're able to kill all of the general, all of the admiral, all of the senior officer, all of the junior folks, they won't know what to do. They will be completely lost because they need to get orders and they need to be told exactly what to do. But in our military, all of the junior enlisted folks and senior enlisted, you can get rid of all of the senior military folks. Once they've received their mission, they know exactly what to do and how to do. They don't need somebody to look over their shoulder. They are autonomous. They take responsibility. Right? Extreme ownership is what it is called. That is in our culture. That is how we are built. So once we know what to do, we just go there. We execute. We don't need someone to be looking over our shoulder and babysit us. No, there is absolutely no need for that. Actually, the truth is, the senior enlisted, I think, in the military, they are really the people who run the Navy. Without them, we can do absolutely nothing. Because even when I was a junior enlisted, they mentored me. And then when I became a junior officer, they mentored me as well. So when I became a senior officer, normally they don't mentor senior officer, but I was like, no, you've mentored me my entire career. You may as well continue to mentor me now. Just because I'm a commander doesn't mean that I don't need you anymore because they have so much knowledge, so much experience. They've been in the Navy for a very, very long time. They've got your back. Whatever, blind sides you might have, those people are going to be able to take you to victory. And if you go to war, they're going to bring you back home alive to your family and to your kids. So you absolutely have to listen to them. So I think that's why it's important to really empower team. Because one thing I have noticed in the industry in general, not always, but generally speaking, people tend to feel like they compete against each other. So the more knowledge I have, the more special I am, and the more job security I have. So therefore, if I share my knowledge, then I am going to be competing with you and I'm not as secure. But that's the wrong way of thinking. You have to lead with an open hand, right? You have to be able to share your knowledge so that your organization as a whole is more resilient. And again, when you are out of packet, the organization can still continue on without you. And I think that really says a lot, right? You need to document, have clear governance, who does what, when, measurable control, and board visibility too, right? And then successor who understand both the mission but also the operating model. So, and I think as a leader, part of your job is to really document how you do whatever it is that you do. And I like to document that in such a way that, no, I can't say that anymore, but my kids, they used to be, 12, 13 years old, so that my teenager can come and read whatever we have written and be able to do to execute that in the same way that any of my guys would. So I believe the way it comes down to leadership is not proving that you are indispensable, but leadership is building something strong enough to continue without you.
Yeah, makes sense. I love it. So now let's a little bit move towards the technology part and where things are moving. Where everybody is building right now AI. Like now you are talking about at the same time about like quantum computing and their threats, and most of the CTOs right now working in enterprise, they are more focusing on, oh, I will do this AI multi-agentic architecture. I will do chatbot. I will do like workflow automations. A lot enterprise AI security and those things. But then at the same time, you're talking about quantum, and I don't think so everybody have the quantum strategy in place right now because nobody knows that. What should a CTO right now thinking about quantum computing and that threats? Help me to understand in one or two lines.
Okay.
Like they should do 1, 2, 3. Help me to kind of pinpoint exactly.
Yeah. I know in the military, we take cryptography quite seriously because we have a lot of secret and some of them are classified, so we absolutely don't want anybody to get access to the information and the people it was intended for. So it is absolutely crucial that we keep our secret, our national secret. Now, having said that, as a tech executive, one thing that really keeps me awake at night, is the emergence of quantum computing, because pretty quickly, all of the confidentiality we have on data is going to be completely obsolete. All of the encryption we are using, quantum computing is going to be able to break it. Right now, it's going to take millions or even billions of years to break, but with quantum computing, we can do it in a few minutes or hours. So that is very, very, very scary. So I think the quantum threat, having said that, is really about cryptographic trust, right? Today's encryption protects financial system, national security system, like in the military, healthcare system, digital identity, all of your personal data, and all of that. So powerful quantum computing could eventually break widely used public key cryptography. That's what I guess we are calling quantum ap- apocalypse, right? So everything is going to be out there in the open. So the danger is not only future decryption, but it's also harvest now and decrypt later. I know China has definitely done that, stolen a lot of our data. They can't get into it right now because they don't have the ability to break our cryptography. It will take them hundreds and millions of years to do right now. But with quantum computing, again, they're going to be able to decrypt it as soon as that becomes available. So at this, we can still encrypt the data today. It's all gibberish. They can't read it. They don't have access to it, but they will just wait and wait until quantum capability matures. And it's maturing pretty quickly. We're
Yeah.
now in the age of artificial intelligence. I've heard some experts say it's probably within the past 5 to 10 years. We will see. So I think what CTOs, CIOs, and CISO really should begin is first do a crypto inventory now. Know exactly what you have, right? What keys you are using, what strength, and those kind of things. Know where cryptography lives and what algorithm you use, and also what data has long-term sensitivity. So you cannot protect what you do not know. So how you will migrate to post-quantum cryptography. I know NIST is doing a lot of work right now to kind of prepare the U.S. government, but the industry also, to the world post quantum. So I guess we don't have to wait for the crisis. No, we have to build a roadmap starting now, and I think that's kind of where we need to start. And many organizations haven't even started doing that.
Yeah. Makes sense. And you sit with like in the CISSP exam development committee for over a decade now. The threat that you are now seeing is quantum computing threats, and then you are seeing AI is becoming overused right now everywhere, right? Uh, but in the training, I'm sure the training frameworks are still getting dangerously wrong about how to prepare for the future threats, right? What do you think? What they need to change in the framework? And did they started doing that, or it's something like still in the pipeline?
Oh, okay. As of right now, I am no longer part of the CISSP work group that decide on the question, but I was a member for like a dozen years. It was a great experience to go behind the scene and kind of see, the question that would be on the actual exam, and then we updated a lot of those questions. But now, the thing is, if you are part of such a work group, there is a firewall between the training and certification, right? They cannot talk to each other. People who do the training, they shouldn't know what is on the test, and those who are on the test shouldn't know what is on the training. Otherwise, there is a conflict of interest. But also, while I was doing that, I couldn't teach about anything related to the security that had any overlap with this CSSP body of work. I think when we first started, I believe we had 10 domain of knowledge. And then when I was there a few years back, we reduced those to 8 domains. So today I am an adjunct professor, for example, at the California Science and Technology University. I couldn't have that job if I was still part of that because I'm teaching networks, security, and AI. So that would be a conflict of interest. So having said that, I feel like many training frameworks still over-index on memorization and under-index on judgment. And some of the training too, they kind of try to make you memorize answers for the test, or at least they teach toward an exam, which I think is not the right thing. They really need to teach toward understanding. And then once you know you have the knowledge and you know the principle, you can apply it no matter what question you face on the exam or real scenario you face in real life. So I feel like the next generation of security professional need more than definition and control catalog. And I think it's important to understand the theories and all that. Again, as an adjunct professor, I have taught that to my graduate student, but that's also why toward the middle of my session with them, I bring in industry experts who come for about 20, 30 minutes to talk to them about their experience, what they actually see in the real world. Well, it's not just theory, but hey, this is actually how we put this in practice, right? So I think students need scenario-based decision-making, adversarial thinking, business communication, crisis leadership. Leadership is very, very important key to, for example, in my class, about 20% were MBA students, whereas the other 80% were, computer science and engineering. But I think it doesn't matter if you are a business leader, a tech leader, you really need to have this basic type of understanding. And today, it's
That's
high
interesting.
risk
Yeah,
literacy, right? Because we are living in
that's
the
true.
age of artificial intelligence, and then also ethical reasoning, right? You have to use ethics, making the right decision. So we are preparing people to pass exam, but the adversary does not give multiple choice question. But so
No,
future
that's true.
security professional, they must be technical. Yes, I think that's a given, but they must also be strategic, communicative, and calm under pressure. Also understand the business side of cyber security.
Yeah, so as a leader, I'm sure like everybody is giving back to the society. Are you still directorate? Is it cyber initiative, or you're not right now?
Oh, sorry, repeat the question
Sure,
again.
sure. No, no worries. So are you still the director, board director at AZ Security Initiative, or you are not right now?
Yeah, so I guess you are talking about giving back with us, mentorship, diversity, and mission before. Yeah, I serve on a couple of boards now, and I think my drive is to give back, right? And that really comes from gratitude, right? Nobody gets where they are alone. I think being a loner, I've done it all by myself. That is a myth. That is not true. I think everybody needs mentors, leaders, teachers, shipmates, family members, all kinds of people who poured into you and have helped you become the person you are now. So I believe I do have a responsibility to open doors for other people too. And also, I've noticed, both in the military and in the industry, there are not a lot of Black people in positions of leadership, and there are not a lot of women either. So I have definitely seen it. But for the longest, it was really white men in charge of everything. I'm almost always been the one and only Black person in the room, and I think that is a problem. I think we need more diversity, right? Our country is a very diverse country. I think it's part of our greatness, right? This melting pot, and even our motto here in the US, right? E pluribus unum, out of many one. And I think our diversity is definitely our strength. So I do believe I do have that responsibility to open doors for other people. I shouldn't be the first and the last, right? I should be the first of many.
Many.
When I mentor women, minorities, veterans, and emerging cyber professionals, maybe I should even add disabled people now, because now I guess I am officially a disabled veteran. I never thought I would be called a disabled, but let's just say I am overly abled individual. No, all of those people, they really need room at the table, because I see that hunger, I see that resilience, I see that creativity, and I see that courage. And I think what gives me hope, why, is that the next generation is not just waiting for permission, but they are building communities, learning fast, challenging outdated assumptions. Like my daughters, they're all Gen Zs, and they have actually taught me a lot too. I remember when I was commanding officer at Virginia in Suffolk, Virginia, about two-thirds of my unit of my command were enlisted. Only one-third were officer. And of those two-thirds that were enlisted, at least half of them were Gen Zs and millennial. And I will tell you, they think differently than us,
Yeah, that's true.
X
I agree.
and older. And I was having trouble, leading them. So I had to go back to my daughters. So they became my mentor. They became my teacher, and they told me exactly what to do and how to handle them. And I made those changes, and I saw a big, big difference. Because otherwise, you are speaking over their head. They don't really have the same values and vision as no. Sometimes they get triggered and stuff, and it's like, okay, how do I handle that? So again, my kids were able to help me with this. But I think bringing people's full identity into the profession, I believe, is important, and in bringing value to each individual, right? I usually say, and I've learned that from my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, right? I have great values. I value people, and I want to add value to people and organizations. So I want everybody who works with me to individually feel valued. And I think when people feel that, I believe it was Maya Angelou said, I heard it from Oprah, but she learned it from Maya Angelou, mentor, right? People will forget what you say, but they will never, never forget the way you make them
Sure.
feel.
So you
And
are
that's
certified John Maxwell coach. Is this the reason that you because you want to share the knowledge, and then you
Yes.
become John Maxwell Code
Hmm.
certified, and then you
Yes.
won. You also do a podcast, I think, the leadership
Hmm.
podcast, right?
Yes.
Most of CIs, so I don't think so. CTOs do these things, but you do this because now you want to share the knowledge in those things.
Yes.
What does, if they are, let's say, if what do you understand about leadership in by just doing this, because most of the technical people are not doing this podcast, and that's the reason we started this as well. Like, what exactly
Yes.
CS or CTO, what exactly they think about, right? So help me to understand exactly what do you understand by leadership that pure technical executive miss, and what
Yes.
does that cost them in the boardroom. So let's say, does this all the podcast and leadership role helps you being a technical executive while you are presenting in the boardroom? Does it make you more
Mhm.
sense about the business? Does it make sense you more about ROI? What exactly difference from technical executive to doing this all the leadership programs?
Yeah. So to me, actually, this is the book I am using now for my podcast, which I started the season for the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell. I usually call him Papa John. He really taught me most of what I know about leadership. So, like Papa John has taught me, really, leadership is influence, right? Nothing more, nothing less. You don't need to have a title. That's one huge misconception people have about leadership. Think, oh, I need to become a director, a manager, a vice president, or a C-level executive. No, no, that doesn't make you a leader. Actually, there is another book he has written. It's on my bookshelf there, but the
Yeah, okay.
highest level of leadership. I think the lowest level is the title, positional leadership. Okay, you do that because I am your boss. Well,
Mm.
yeah, that's gonna work because people need to have a paycheck or maybe afraid of you know. In the Navy, when I first joined 21 years ago, it was a lot of command and control, you know. But now it has really evolved a lot, especially with this new generation, because they're not gonna follow you just because you said so. They need to understand why are we doing this? What is the reason behind? How does that fit into the big mission? So I feel like you don't have to have a title, you don't have to have a specific job, you don't have to have the corner office. Even if you don't have direct contributor, you can still be a leader, if of nobody else, of yourself.
Mm.
Leadership is influence. So I think what many technical executives miss is that leadership is not just making the right technical decision. It's creating alignment, creating trust, clarity, and action through people. Right? You are really a leader because most of the time, like myself, I became a manager when my supervisor saw that I was doing something very, very well. I was a great individual contributor. And then they're like, okay, now we're going to put you in charge of other people. The hope is you are going to also help motivate them and train them like you so we can multiply your effectiveness. But what usually happens, and I had a hard time with this, when I became a manager, it was very difficult for me to properly delegate because I would delegate things to people, but they didn't do it to my standard, to my
Mm.
satisfaction. And I was like, no, if it's going to get done right, I may as well just do it anyway. So I would take it away from them. Therefore, take away the opportunity for them to learn. Because if I think back about my life, my own experience, when I first started, I wasn't that good in any way. I was making mistakes, but through those mistakes, I was able to learn. So you need to give people the room to make mistakes and to learn and to go and to do it to whatever the
Makes
standard of
sense.
the
Yeah,
organization is. So that is
that's
really
true.
what makes you a leader. And also, anybody who's an expert today. Today, I am an expert in many things. But when I first started 21, 28 years ago, I was not an expert. I was a novice. But anybody who's an expert today, when they first started, they were a novice too. They didn't know
True.
nothing, and they had to learn. They say on average it's 5 years or 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything. And it's really incredible. Like today, I am going, like I said, to 12, 15 conferences every year. I am speaking. People look up to me as an expert, as a thought leader. But 21 years ago, I was not. Thanks. No, nobody came to listen
True.
to me.
It takes a
Nobody
lot of time.
invited me to the conference. Nobody paid for my airfare and hotel to go speak to the people. Absolutely not. But they do today. But it starts one day at a time, and you gain the skill. Yes, you make mistakes, but you learn from them. And I think everybody who reports to you needs to have the opportunity to learn and to get better and better and better. So you really need to create that environment of psychological safety, right? Where people can make a mistake and they can admit, yes, I made a mistake, but this is what I have learned. This is how I'm not going to be able to make that mistake
Love it.
again. So
I think we, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, so in the boardroom, technical brilliance without communication can become nothing but noise. One mistake I see a lot of tech executives, CTOs, and CISOs do is they use too many technical jargon. People in the boardroom, they are business people, right? They want to understand how in the world is what you are doing going to affect our strategic mission
True.
objective. They don't need to know about all of this lingo which goes above their head. Right? Boards do not need every detail. They need context. They need consequences. They need option, and they need accountability. So
True.
the best leader translate complexity into clarity. They help people make better decision under uncertainty. Right. So that is coaching. That is leadership. And I think in cybersecurity and in tech in general, that is often the difference, right, between panic and progress.
Makes sense. So let's now a little bit fast check on the fireside chat. I think we talk a lot about like what CTO, CISO should do and what they should take care about. Now the answer should be in one liner. Make sure we are aligned with that, Bob. Right? It should be one liner answer.
Okay.
No explanation, just one liner, quick fireside chat.
Okay.
Let's start with the first one. Every CTOs in this audience has a security gap they know about but haven't fixed yet. What is the most common one you have seen in the industry, and what would you tell them to do about this week? Not next week. This week they have to fix it. What is that one or two security gap that you think there is always this security gap, they have to fix it?
Well, I think the most common security gap is unmanaged identity and excessive access.
Okay.
If identity is weak, everything else is negotiable to the adversary. So that's what they need to probably focus on.
Role-based access management.
Yeah.
Okay, got
They
it.
should review privilege account, remove stale access, enforce MFA, multiple factor authorization, validate admin roles, and make identity governance a
Okay.
priority.
Let's say one of the CTO who is in the mid market and they are talking about like, okay, cybersecurity for me it doesn't matter because my company is not actually a target for nationwide level cyber attack. What would you tell them, and would the answer surprise them?
Well, actually, they are. No, either you have already been compromised or you are about to be, right? That's why I love zero trust because it makes the assumption that we've already been compromised, so we have to verify all the time. Trust, but verify. So mid-market company can absolutely be a target. They may not be the final target, but they can be a pathway to one, right? For example, what happened at target. Well, we're talking about being a target for nation state. The way those people were able to get into the target, very secure PCI network, they went through a third party HVAC contractor, right? So China, Russia, they not be able to attack the DoD or the Navy directly because our security controls are too strong, but they can attack our vendor, they can attack our contractors. And once they get through that, then they're going to be able to switch over and get access to all of our secret information because we do have to share them with the people who win contract on what we work on. So it's always looking for the weakest link in the
Ecosystem.
chain, right? So they may be part of a supply chain or valuable data, support critical customer, or provide access to larger ecosystem. So nation state actors do not only attack government and Fortune 100 company, they attack opportunity. That's really what everybody needs to understand. So the surprise for many CTOs and CISOs is you may be valuable not because of who you are, but because of who you connect to.
Makes sense. So it's connecting dots, so everything will be vulnerable in the supply chain. Okay, got it. So right now AI is moving very, very fast. You have seen like what the adversaries do with emerging technologies before even private sector understand that. What is one AI enabled attack vector that most CTOs are not taking seriously enough right now? Tell me like one liner answer.
I think right now it would be synthetic trust. I can expand on that, but yeah.
What does that come again?
Synthetic trust. What I'm referring to is like deepfake voice, synthetic videos, AI-generated emails, fake candidate, fake vendor, fake support request, fake executive are becoming more convincing. It's very difficult even for experts like myself sometimes to be able to tell what's real and what is fake. 3-5 years ago, you could easily tell. They would have 6 fingers and things like that. But today, it's almost impossible. Like if you just search Will Smith eating spaghetti, look at what we did in 2021, look at what just came out in 2025, you cannot tell the difference if this security
Interesting.
was made for if it is a fake. No, somebody calling you sounds just like your grandmother. Oh, someone stole my purse. Wire me $1,000. It's like it is just incredible what the bad guys can do today with artificial intelligence. Sounds like you, looks like you, acts like you. Even the expert would be really calm. No, just like was it last year? It was the chief AI architect of Meta, a Fortune 10 company. He saw, I think it was a video of ICE officers in St. Louis, Minneapolis, and he thought it was real, but it was all AI.
Interesting.
All
Yeah.
fake.
That's true. That's true. It's mimicking the real users or real person.
Yeah.
It's a
Because
synthetic
I
one.
think exactly. So the bottom line, the future attack may not break your firewall, but it may convince your people to open the door. So synthetic trust, I think, is one of the most
Makes sense.
crucial things.
The next question is, you've been in a lot of board meetings and again sitting with the boardroom with the senior board advisor and members, right? What is the single most important thing a CTO needs to understand about how board members think about security risk? For them, is it like necessity? For them, is it like a cost? What exactly it looks like? Because CTO has to understand while they are presenting what exactly it looks like and how should they change the way they present it during the meetings of the board members.
In one word, that would be clarity. I can expand on that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But basically, boards, they really think in terms of risk. And I think the way they treat financial risk should be similar to the way we treat technical risk, right? There shouldn't really be much difference there. I remember it was in the 20s, so 26 years ago with Enron and all of that, the SEC, FTC, they pretty much forced every Fortune 3,000 board to actually have a financial expert on the board. So I think now we are getting to the time where we're going to be forced to have a technical expert on the board too. Because board, again, I think in terms of risk, resilience, reputation, regulation, revenue, and responsibility. So a CTO should not present cybersecurity risk as a list of technical issues, no, but present it as a business exposure. That's where you are going to get traction. What could happen? What would it cost? What are we doing about it? What decision do we need from the board? What risk are we accepting right now? So the board does not need to fear. We used to use a lot of FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, doubt. No, that doesn't work. You need clarity.
Makes sense. So last question. You have commanded personnel in the war room and led institution through crisis time as well while cyber crisis happened and build the program from nothing, from 0 to 1. With either 6 million funding or it's a 20 million funding as well. What is the one thing you would tell every CTO in the audience to stop doing and one thing to start doing tomorrow?
Well, I would tell every CTO to stop treating cybersecurity as something that happens after innovation, right? It has to be built in, baked into the process, not something you bolt on after the fact. Start building security into the way your company design, ships, sells, and scales. Do not wait for the breach, the audit, or the customer escalation, or the board crisis. Do not think of cybersecurity as a completely different function. It has to be built into everything you do, into the culture of the enterprise. Tomorrow, ask one question. What are the three systems, decision, or dependency that could hurt our mission the most if they failed? Then you need to build from there.
Makes sense. Thank you so much, Bob. It was really amazing, and our audience will definitely like this. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for watching this video so far. Hope you like this podcast. Make sure you subscribe and share with other CTOs and founders. CTO's job is not that much easy. It's hard. We need to make sure as a CTO that company win. At every stage, the CTO's role keep changing, keep evolving. At the end of the day, you have to perform well, make sure company wins. Either it's a technical decision or it is connected with the technical plus financial decision. As a CTO, you have to make sure you are on top of that. It's not your only technical responsibilities. You are a CXO. Make sure you justify your job description and you justify your role as well. If you think you are not at the right position or you are not fulfilling what a CTO has to do, you have to think one more time. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to this channel and see you again. Thank you.